If you ever saw a policy which did not have a leg to stand on, it's the Liberal Party's nuclear power policy. And it will be hilarious to watch the shenanigans unfold as they try to justify this. As a few wags have noted on Twitter, this from a party which couldn't get its act together to build a few community car parks. The problem, though, and we have a serious political problem, is that the Murdoch press has geared up and decided to go full bore in support of this coalition policy. Daily coverage by their punditry, from the Australian special correspondent for Peter Dutton, Simon Benson, to every last speaking chipmunk on Sky News. Then we got Peter Costello. They've been softer over at The Age and the SMH on nuclear energy so far, but he's a coalition acolyte. He decides the editorial line, and so we can expect support there too. And the ABC is parroting the debate daily. They are making this self-fulfilling by accepting that this is a viable policy. And this is the problem that we as Australians face. This whole issue, this imbroglio, will soak up so much political time and capital and media debate. It will divide the nation. This prodigious white elephant flanked by flying pigs. It matters not that it's uncommercial in the extreme, and that the real experts in energy policy debunk it all the time. It is, sadly, with us as a monumental political distraction designed to keep coal and gas going for longer. That's what we've got to as a polity, this kind of almost sabotage of the political process. Let's not forget that the coalition had their 9 long years in government to do nuclear energy. But suddenly now it's become compelling. And if you want to have a deep dive on the sheer lack of viability, check out Simon Holmes-A-Court's Precis on LinkedIn. He visited 10 nuclear power plants. He's an energy expert and has come up with cost and time estimates based on international peers on comparisons. Already, Peter Dutton has ruled out a reactor for Tasmania. There's 5 states to go, and the Nationals leader, David Littleproud, has kindly offered to host a nuclear reactor out in his electorate of Maranoa. Does anyone know where Maranoa is? It's right out in the sticks, near the southwest border of Queensland and the Northern Territory. Has anybody asked him? Has anybody asked David where the water will come from? Do they plan to suck it out of the Great Artesian Basin to wreck the river system? Because nuclear power plants are notoriously thirsty. They consume an incredible amount of water. And Australia, of course, is the driest continent on Earth. The farmers love this one. Then there are the costs of rehabilitation. In the UK, the cost of rehabilitating the nuclear fleet has been priced at £260 billion, $500 billion. That's Hinkley, etc. That's why we hear the word Hinkley all the time. You can bet that won't be in the cost estimates. Rehabilitation, where the coalition finally comes around to furnishing some detail on this Brobignagian boondoggle. Fukushima in Japan is estimated to cost $200 billion. And the Japanese government has not provided for it. And that's not even talking about disposing of the waste. That's just cleaning up the contamination from the sites. And the idea, of course, in Japan now is to wait for the right tides before they just dump the stuff in the ocean. They're waiting for the right tides because they don't want to poison the local fish and damage the local fishing industry. Just poison the surfers over in California. Just dump it in the ocean. It's not as if we have even provided for the cleanup of offshore oil and gas here in Australia with the foreign-controlled multinational companies such as Exxon and Chevron, these people that don't pay any tax, leaving us with a $60 billion rehabilitation bill for their offshore oil and gas rigs. Nuclear will make that look like chicken feed. Fallacy above all others is that we need it for blackouts, as Ted O'Brien was saying without any credibility on 7:30 on Monday night on the ABC. We don't. AEMO, the Australian Energy Market Operator, the experts at modelling reserve power generation system outages and system reserves say that we can pull off the energy transition without nuclear energy, with wind, solar, hydro, and batteries. Clean energy. Nuclear is clean too, in emissions terms, but not when it comes to the waste. As for SMRs, small modular reactors, this fantasy, the tooth fairies of energy. There's not one functioning SMR in the developed world, and ironically, the only option for Peter Dutton, for Comrade Peter, as the US's old technology, Generation 3 nuclear technology, they aren't planning any new nuclear power plants in the US. They take 20 years to build them anyway, is China. Now, they did roll out their first SMR last December in China, just been commissioned. Is Comrade Peter suggesting we import Chinese technology to get the job done? They are the only ones delivering fourth-generation nuclear power plants. But they have, what we don't have here, an authoritarian government, an organised government, and they can plonk them anywhere they want. We'll have to have the debate for years before we get a regulator going and then decide where they will go at incredible cost. So we're talking 2045, around the time the submarines turn up after the next war. China also has an established nuclear industry and regulation to do it. We need solutions in place by the end of the decade, not by 2045. And as Simon Holmes à Court puts it, of the 5 nuclear power projects to start construction this century in North America and Western Europe, 1 was cancelled and the others will average 21 years from announcement to commercial operation. Either way, it's at least 25 years away. And with the coalition's incredible track record of economic management, how long is it going to take? Well, it won't happen, of course, because it's just a distraction. It makes them look as if they've got a policy, and it gives the media something to talk about. Politically, the coalition has a problem. The AFR said this week that the only way the Nationals will agree with net zero by 2050 is to have nuclear energy. Because the Nats, of course, the management of the Nats hates wind, and they hate solar. So the old team of the Murdoch Press and the coalition, the band is back together singing about nuclear daily. Not with a skerrick of valid arguments or compelling independent advice, just wind. And as the ABC is talking about every day too, this becomes self-fulfilling. It is going to be an incredible waste of time. It's created an echo chamber. Interestingly, the business lobby does not appear to be buying into this. The BCA hasn't come out with any policy ideas on the issue, even though they stand to benefit, or their members do, from the $100 billion or whatever it's going to cost to make this a reality. They know it's a fantasy too, because the experts say it's a fantasy. So they're going to have to try to inveigle some support from the business community, which you wouldn't think it'd be too hard, because the government will be paying, if this ever happens, big business to do it. Members of the BCA and their many lawyers and accountant hanger-oners and consultancy firms. So there you have it. A gigantic furphy, but unfortunately it is going to soak up a lot of debating time, a lot of media space heading into the next election, because they've decided to go full bore, and Murdoch is pushing it every day. Thank you for your support here. We'll continue to follow the money and try to give you evidence-based journalism rather than this kind of nuclear fantasy stuff. Unfortunately, it's become a political reality, even if it is not a commercial reality. It doesn't have a hope in Hades of getting up commercially, but we're going to be hearing a lot of it.